find yourself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Nuhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Ferrari not very far apart at all here, but I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and approaches dropped to all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's touched on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching the Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Radical Race Series as we end off Season 2 of 2023. It's a wonderful circuit, as I mentioned. On the standings at the moment, we've currently got Simon Edwards, who is championship leader by about 9 points ahead of John McCutcheon, who moved ahead of Mike Bousson. Distant now at 39 back, but excuse me, 29 back, but could still win the championship. It's really between those four for the remainder of the season. Dan, I hope you can hear me now,
Yes, we can.
We can get things underway. That's all good news. But yeah, wonderful circuit, I've got to say, and these radicals are going to handle really well around here because of the downforce they've got. They should be a dream to drive.
For sure. And what we've seen, well, the current theme that we've seen, especially on the Sunday and the Monday night for our Europeans, when you do watch the Radical World Series, if you do watch that, is that during qualifying, the cars just get better from lap to lap to lap. So you really need to be there on the end of qualifying. Your last lap is the lap that usually is going to count.
Yes, that is normally what we see. 3 laps that you get, 10 minutes to do it within, and we'll get that session underway very, very shortly around this circuit. There you can see a bit of the history of Imola, not all of it great, unfortunately, but a historical venue for everybody. And somehow they've managed to put chicanes at this circuit without ruining it entirely. I will say the Variante Alta at the high point of the circuit is a little bit clumsy, but the other chicanes are quite entertaining. And you do flow through them quite well. It's one of those circuits, though, where you are spending quite a lot of time avoiding the curbs, really, because, as I mentioned, it does have a lot of chicanes, not a lot of time for runoff either, but curbs on either side of you a lot of the time, which is not particularly ideal, and you can spin your car very easily on them.
Now, the Variante Alta is a prime spot for photographers to go, actually, Ewan, because the car is usually on the inside sausage curb on the entry to Variante Alta. Catch a bit of air with 2 tires at least on the right hand side usually. So a great place for photographers to go. I don't think we'll see these radicals smash into those sausage curbs. They very much dislike them with how stiff these cars are set up. So a prime spot for photographers, not however for these radicals today.
Yeah, absolutely. They're essentially low-level prototypes, aren't they, really? And you never go on curbs you wouldn't dream of doing it in an LMP2 or whatever, would you? So you can't really do it in these either. This is Paul Crabb making his way out. Excuse me, it's not Paul Crabb at all, is it? It will be Mike Bousson making his way over the line at the moment. Heading through a very wide line through turn 19, which we've already both established is not a corner, and neither is turn 1. This first braking zone is called turn 2 for whatever reason, the Variante Tamburello, which is this whole complex at the start of the lap. But we've agreed that turn 1 and turn 19 are not turns at all, and so you can strike those 2 off. 18 proper corners, although I do dispute some of the others as well. I'm sure we'll go through that a little bit later, or maybe not. But qualifying's going to be quite important around here. I do feel as if it's going to be a struggle to overtake for some. I mean, obviously the sprint race will be what it will be, but the feature race as well, even with the reverse grid, it could be quite hard to pass one another.
That reverse grid race, however, is going to provide us with some great action, some quick drivers coming through the field. However, like you said, overtaking difficult, especially coming down that front straight. Not the longest straight on the calendar that we've seen so far. It's a bit of an off though from Buson. That's going to delete his lap time. He's going to have to go against Simon Edwards, however, leading the championship. You touched on it earlier on. 381, if I'm correct. He is on the 52. And at the moment, purple, Sector 3 and Sector 4. But it's not the longest straight in the world, Ewan. And however, you can slipstream in these cars. But I don't think it either has to be a lunge down at the Tamburello, which is not really a hard braking zone, or you're just not going to get there.
Yep, it's important, this qualifying session, as I mentioned, and in terms of each individual lap, you do have to kind of wind it up throughout. I know we talk about the last one being the most important, but it's still got great news for Buson that he hasn't got the first time on the board. He'll have to go again. Off track, of course, will halt in there. 36.9 from Edwards so far. As easily the best time, but that's only because only 2 other drivers have actually set times as of right now, waiting for some others to come over the line. The likes of Paul LeMay, who returns once again to this series. He's quite a way off the championship lead now, unfortunately, after having a fantastic start to the season. Paul Crabb's still up there. He's second in the standings at the moment. There goes LeMay up to second as we speak. John McCutcheon's going quite quickly through his first lap of the day. Wonder where he will get to in this opening one. He goes over the line with a very similar lap time to Simon Edwards, and he will go quicker by just over 1/10 of a second. So early advantage taken by McCutcheon, but it looks like it will be between him and Edwards maybe for the pole.
Now, we have seen, especially I think last week at Bathurst, it was McCutcheon who we know needs to kind of win every race to even remotely still have a chance of the championship. Now, even if he wins every race, it's still very much almost impossible for McCutcheon to still win it. However, he has the bit between his teeth for these last 4 races of the season. So, it's good for him to take pole position. However, it doesn't mean that a whole lot, because pole position last week, was already lost at the first corner into Hell Corner. Because your start just needs to be good, and if it's not, then pole position doesn't mean anything.
Absolutely, it's all part of the things that piece together for one of these races. Hello to Ben Underdown, who's currently in the YouTube chat at the moment, by the way. He was chatting with John McCutcheon earlier on. Slightly worried, Ben, I think, that John wasn't going to be racing, but he is. And you can see him on your screen right now, just about half a second behind Edwards. He'll make his way down towards Ravazza. 17 and 18. Down at the bottom of the course. There's LeMay, who goes... that's Michael LeMay, who goes up to 6th. His brother, Paul LeMay, goes up to 2nd at the moment. McCutcheon will be making his way towards the line right now as well. I don't know if he's quite going to be able to get over Edwards here, but he will certainly get closer, and maybe will get 2nd as well. Yep, there it is, 2nd place. So Edwards now has one more opportunity to try and get away from the rest of the field. He's about 3/4 of the way around this final lap, 2/3 of the way around. And then he'll be in towards Ravazza these final 2 corners, and we'll see if this lap will be enough for pole.
Variante Alta, a lot of curb there though for Edwards going into Ravazza. An important corner. Want to get both of them right. The first one sets the second one up. A early turning in point for Edwards. 2 purple sectors, 2 yellows. What can he do here, Ewan?
Through the meaningless turn 19, he'll go and over the line. I don't think it will quite be an improvement there for Simon Edwards. He'll stay where he is in first place. Will it be enough though, with John McCutcheon only just over 1/10 behind? Paul Crabb moves up to 4th. Darrell Taylor up to 6th place as Buson goes up to 4th in the one of the championship contenders. The top 4 in the championship, all up there inside the top 5. With Paul Crabb there as well. Here's McCutcheon, and he is flying on this final lap time. A couple of purple sectors to speak of in the opening half of this lap or so. He'll go down towards Ravazza now, needing about 0.2 of a second to overtake Simon Edwards. Get a low 1:36 here, and he will be fine in terms of making this in the first position. Through turn 19 he will go now. Is this enough for pole for John McCutcheon? He goes over the line. I don't know if it is. He's not quite made it. 12 thousandths of a second is all he misses out by. A very close session, but in the end, Edwards has the edge ever so slightly.
Only car at the moment out on track, still setting his lap time. Sergio Martinez de la Cruz, who's still out. However, look how close that is. You with 12 thousandths of a second is what he misses out by. And de la Cruz has an off track going through Piratella. That will delete his lap time. You saw that. Immediately went on the brakes. Not happy with himself, of course. Could have gone up as high as maybe P4, P3 for De La Cruz. Not a lot to gain to go up into P3. About 1.5 tenths maximum for him to gain, well, effectively 4 positions. Go up into P3. That's 3 positions. I can't count, I promise.
There we are. We'll get the figures out in a second and start having a count. No, it's a good qualifying actually from Sergio de la Cruz because he's only 0.5 of a second, only half a second away from Simon Edwards there, which is very impressive for anyone to be able to manage. And there's quite a gulf in the field between him and Darrell Taylor, who's more than a second back, although only 1 position back. De La Cruz will make his way down pit lane now to end out qualifying. There will still be seconds remaining within it, but nobody else. Excuse me, just banged my desk. Nobody will have any laps remaining to do. Yeah, so we'll see on that. Well, indeed, he'll be placed at the end of pit lane, but there's no point in him going out again because he won't have any laps here. I think it's a good point he made, though, here, Dan, about lap 1, about turn 1, because this is the Variante Tamburello, and it could see a few incidents. It's all about the pole sitter here, Simon Edwards or John McCutcheon from the front row as well, getting a good launch, getting a good start, and taking that through to turn 1.
Talked about it earlier that these cars just, they don't like the curbs. They don't like the sausage curbs you have around this track, and in turn 1, there are a lot of them on the inside. There are a lot of them on the exit. So if you want to go through there side by side, you need a lot of respect from both drivers, really. And so far, I think, especially last week at Bathurst, we did see that. We did see loads and loads of respect through the mountain section, even some overtakes there, which you usually don't see as qualifying has come to an end. But you need respect. And lap 1, usually people are a bit desperate.
A little bit, yes. And that can get the better of you. Here's the look at the starting grid then, before we get underway here this evening. It is Simon Edwards and John McCutcheon on the front row together with Paul LeMay and Mike Bouston on row 2. Paul Crabb just sneaks inside the top 5 with Sergio de la Cruz joining him. Darrell Taylor and Michael LeMay will share row 4 with Seth Brown and David Beasley sharing row 5. Paul Godden and Phil Jocelyn just miss out on a top 10 with Wayne Palmer and Phil Glover on the back row together in the opposite order. It's Phil Glover just ahead of Wayne Palmer there in 13th and 14th to round out the 14-car grid. Simon Edwards, important launch coming up for him. Of course, this is a sprint race where there are slightly less points available, but even so, it's going to be an important 9 laps coming up. Pressure's going to be on for everyone.
Well, who's going to vote with that pressure the best? Quickly, Ewan, who are we going with? I'm going with McCutcheon for this first race.
Well, that's I'm going to go for Edwards for the don't say boring, but for the predicted lights to flag victory is what I would go for, because he's very strong from this position, and has said to us many times in the past that he doesn't really like this car in the SR8, but he is very quick with it. He's able to work around that, and I guess that part that he doesn't like to it is obvious in the fact he's taken his free drop rounds in the first 4 weeks of this series. We're in the final 2 weeks now. This is the penultimate race, and we are underway at Imola. Simon Edwards going nowhere off the stop. On the outside line, Mike Bouston very close into Tamburello as well. He'll look towards the inside, but he won't go for it as Paul LeMay goes spinning off into the gravel. He may well have made contact with Paul LeMay, I think, who's It gets away sluggishly out of turns 1 and 2. He's in fifth position at the moment. The field will battle on behind him, but drama in towards turn 1 as Paul LeMay goes off at turn 1. And unfortunately, as a drop down the order, as does Paul Godden, who drops from the top 10 down to 13th and even last position. So drama on this opening lap at the front, but John McHutchinson takes the lead.
Like I said last week, pole position means absolutely nothing. This time roles reversed though. McHutchinson, a great launch off the line, and Edwards got pipped even before the braking zone of Tamburello. So a great launch from McHutchinson. Buson also tried to make his way through to make it a 1-2 for Team Redline. Couldn't quite manage. But now he's trying to hang on to that slipstream from Edwards.
The top three very much getting away from the rest. McHutchinson, Edwards, Buson in this 9-lap opener here in the Radical Race Series tonight. The Sprinter feature format returning once again as Paul Crabb is in a battle with Darrell Taylor for 6th place at the moment. Not good news for the driver 4th placed in the championship, as those ahead of him, the 3 ahead of him, are in the top 3. There's Crabb, and he's got to make progress here because otherwise he'll slip further behind his championship rivals.
Bit of a slide there from Darrell Taylor. That's going to leave him vulnerable to Paul Crabb. Paul Crabb takes that inside line. Shorter distance to travel, however. Look at Darrell Taylor coming back on the outside. That car, clearly less downforce on it.
If that's a metric you can use. Oh, into the grass there for Crabb. He very nearly rear-ends Taylor. That will allow Seth Brown to catch up there in 8th place. You can see him, the lime green machine just in the background. He's closing as well. Paul Crabb tries to defend but doesn't shut out Brown entirely. Down the inside into Villeneuve, there's contact. Crabb goes off the road through the second part. David Beasley goes through as well, and Paul Crabb goes around. The 2-time champion seeing chances of a third slip through his very fingers here at Imola.
Well, Paul Crabb, what can you say? There was contact before that, but I don't think it's all down to that side-by-side between David Beasley and Jocelyn, who's got the inside for Piratella, makes it work into Variante Acqua Minerale. You don't want to go side-by-side through there, Ewan, because this already is difficult enough on your own.
It really is. You definitely don't want to go side-by-side through there, and the way they were rubbing on each other, I really thought there was going to be disaster, but they've gotten away with it. And it's a nice battle for 7th place on backwards. Seth Brown had to battle past Paul Crabb, of course, it's put him in the clutches of the likes of Jocelyn, Beasley and Power. These are the leaders. John McHutchinson versus Simon Edwards. These two rivals who have had such great battles over the years in the Radical Race Series. It's time for them to do battle here once again. There goes McHutchinson to the inside. Let's have a look at the replay of the start though. We'll try to piece together quite what happened here to Paul LeMay. You'll see him in 3rd place off of the start here in the red, blue and white. The Two Brothers Racing team. And he's going to get hit there by Paul Crabb, isn't it? Gets hit by Paul Crabb and thankfully doesn't take anyone else with him.
Well, that was a chaotic race start to say the least, but you can see the launch that John McHutchinson got there, and that has led to him being where he is right now. There he is. Simon Edwards in P2 and McHutchinson in P1. 6/10 is the gap at the moment. Seems like the last 2-3 laps, McHutchinson is slowly but surely extending that lead.
It certainly is. There's big championship implications, by the way, today, because it is the penultimate round, and as with any penultimate round of a championship, no matter how close it is, it can still be a winner after today. If Simon Edwards is leading the championship by more than 19 points or more, then he will be champion by the end of today. The gap currently 9 points, so if he gains 10 points or more on McHutchinson, then he will be crowned champion. However, that seems like a long shot at the moment. Buson needs to close in if he wants to stay involved in the championship as well. Because of the way the drop rounds work here, Dan, it means that Simon Edwards is currently dropping a 47-point score. Wow. And when there's a maximum of 65, that's a very good score to be dropping. It's a very good kind of 2-race combination to be dropping from your overall score.
That's going to take a chunk out of the points that he at the moment has. And Simon Edwards just needs to try and get past McHutchinson. However, that gap ever growing. 136.377 for John McHutchinson. That is 4/10 quicker than Edwards went on the last lap. However, this battle is the battle for P8. 3 drivers involved in it. Jocelyn, Beasley, Palmer in the main. That's 4. I can't count, I do promise.
Yes. ninth place at the moment. And there goes LeMay down the inside on his recovery drive past Wayne Palmer. That was Phil Jocelyn through the gravel. Just seemed to go off on his own through there at turn 1. But I think we're expecting this kind of thing from Paul LeMay here. He's into the top 10 at least right now, but expect him to climb a bit further because he did qualify up onto those first 2 roads, and he might well be able to even get 6th place. He's not out of the realms of possibility in the remaining 5 laps.
That's Brown on the back of Darrell Taylor. Darrell Taylor, the yellow livery machine head of that. And Brown, of course, the bright green with a bit of black or blue. What is it at the end? Might even be purple.
Maybe. I think it's black, maybe. Are we colourblind as well as incapable of maths? Maybe it's blue. We can see on the back of Seth Brown's car. It's a very distinctive livery, though. We thank him very much for that here in the commentary box here at JPB, because it helps us out a great deal. There are 3 people with the second name Brown in this championship and 2 with the first name Graham. So there we are. It's it does make our life a whole lot easier. He's just behind Darrell Taylor though, as is Phil Jocelyn with David Beasley. Wayne Palmer with David Beasley. Excuse me. Down there for 10th position. That's the battle that's just splitting apart this group of 4 into a couple of pairs there. So that's nice to see for Jocelyn and LeMay, who will now go on up the road. And this is important as well, of course, because the top 10 get reversed the second race.
That would mean that Beasley at the moment have that reverse grid pole position. However, Palmer wants it, and he wants it desperately, of course, still with this format. About 4.5 laps to go for the leader, and about a good 5 laps for Wayne Palmer. But he has some time. Time is with him here. But as we said in the beginning, very tricky to pass, so at every opportunity you kind of have to pass. However, Palmer once again wide, and that is going to make his chances of trying to get a pass on Beasley even slimmer and slimmer.
It is. LeMay very close to Jocelyn as he can stop the road there as well. Looking pretty threatening at the moment, qualified up towards the front, and maybe he'll be one to watch during race 2 as well, with the slightly improved starting position he'll have. Paul Crabb's going to try and catch up to those guys further back as well, because he wants to benefit from the reverse grid, but at the moment he won't be able to do it. We're over halfway now in this race, coming up towards the end of lap 5 of 9 in this race, and it's LeMay to the inside, is it? Not quite. I thought I saw him just having a look to the inside there of Jocelyn, up towards Variante Outer. Now he'll have the chance on the way out. He'll have the inside for Ravazza, and surely this will be 8th place for Paul LeMay.
Gonna have him on the inside, bit of contact coming into Ravazza. However, he gets the job done a bit wide on exit though. Gives Jocelyn a chance to come back. However, LeMay has got that covered up. The exit onto the straight was good. Now the only thing he has to do is try and fend off that slipstream. However, Jocelyn seems to be gaining quick here.
Gaining very quickly. Once again, and there'll be damage on that LeMay car, I think, by the looks of what we saw earlier on with Paul Crabb. There, he's down the inside, and he has the plate in towards Tamburello. He should hold on to that now, but maybe that damage is just hurting him in terms of straight line speed there, because Jocelyn certainly did have better of the straight line speed on the run up towards turn 2.
Simon Edwards, the 2 in this race right now. And like I said, John McCutcheon looked quick in qualifying. I think just left a little bit on the table in the middle sector, section number 3 here today. You've got 5 sections in total. Section number 1 about 19 seconds long. Section number 2 the same. Section number 3 not too much longer, about 2 seconds and 21.5 seconds maximum, you would say. Then section number 4 is about 14 seconds long. Section number 5 about 121 seconds. So all very short sections, but that gives you a very good indication though, Ewan, on where you're losing time compared to the rest.
It does. And it's the typical I-rating sectors that are a lot shorter than regular ones, where you normally get the 3. It's a lot more than that. On board with Simon Edwards, as he said, and we're going into the final third of this race now, with McCutcheon holding on, hanging on, trying to continue on in the lead. A 36.0 for Edwards this time around. He's actually quicker than he's gone in qualifying, which is not unusual, to be fair, because you have limited time in qualifying and these cars only get quicker as you drive them for longer, but the pressure really now starts to mount. This is the difference between McCutcheon closing the championship margin to 6 points, or seeing it grow to 12.
Hutchison really needs this, let's be honest here, Ewan. And Simon Edwards will do everything in his power to avoid any points dropped to McCutcheon. However, he also needs to think about the bigger picture. The points that he loses now are, well, far overcomable in the next few races. If he just finishes ahead of McCutcheon in the feature race, he'll gain more points on the whole evening than he would by just finishing ahead in this race.
Yeah, we do often see this. The second race is that couple of points on Edwards' last race, by the way, but it wasn't very many, and he does need a little bit more than that. Ideally, he needs to be in both races here today and at the end as well. As he said before, I do dispute his claim that he needs to win every race from here on in to have a chance. Obviously, mathematically, that would give him the title if he won every race from here. However, I don't think that's what he absolutely has to do to close in on that margin to Simon Edwards. It's fair to say that these two, though, are the class of the field here this afternoon, and with 2 laps remaining, it's getting close between them. The slipstream in full effect, in full swing now for Simon Edwards, who closes in to McCutcheon. He won't be able to go through here. Maybe he's waiting for the last lap.
Is Seth Brown, who's also in the back of Darrell Taylor. The slipstream working here too. However, Taylor has a bit of slipstream from LeMay. Is it enough though to keep Brown behind? He's going to pull to the outside, have a little look to the inside, and he's not going to be able to do anything. Both brake out at the same time. Means that if you do want to outbrake someone, it usually doesn't go too well. Either ends up in a crash or you stay behind. That's what Seth Brown there chose for the sensible decision here. However, at the front though, only 2 tenths in between it now.
Oh, this is close now. Very close between McCutcheon and Edwards down towards Aqua Minerale. Which means mineral water, by the way, for those that didn't know. Bizarrely. But Edwards right now applying an awful lot of pressure, sunning the eyes up towards the Variante Outer, the chicane at the top of the hill here. Then they'll plunge down towards Rivazza, and McCutcheon here is going to need the exit of his life.
And he has got it. He's got enough, I think. However, out of Rivazza, that's got to be the important point. This will be the only real overtaking opportunity. Maybe into Rivazza on the last lap if he's close enough coming out of Variante Alta. However, Simon Edwards needs a good exit, and he got one.
He very much did. Over the start finish line for the penultimate time. Next time, the checkered flag will be waving. 1 lap remaining here at Imola, and John McCutcheon will have to go defensive here from the 5-time champion. Simon Edwards closes in. He pulls to the outside. He won't be able to get alongside in towards turn 2. He'll have to stay behind. He was strong out of this complex last time though, and even had a sniff in towards Villeneuve. He won't. He'll even be a little bit offline compared to McCutcheon through that chicane and through Tozer there.